Holy moly, Kingdom Hearts 4 is confirmed. This video will super quickly explain what is happening in the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this sort of explanatory content. I'll be working on making a missing link video immediately after this is complete. The trailer opens with the phrase, "The Lost Master Arc." All Kingdom Hearts games up until this point have been thought of as occurring within the Dark Seeker saga, where Xehanort was primarily the antagonist. This is our first of two signifiers that we are definitely moving into the next phase of the Kingdom Hearts series. As for who the Lost Master is, the first person that comes to mind is the Master of Masters himself, given that a Lost Master is a term that he has personally used when referring to himself. Of course, it could also be referring to Sora, given that Sora is a wayward Keyblade wielder who can surely be thought of as a master by now. We'll address the voiceover at the end, but before that, we are next treated to shots of a city that looks identical to the real-life Tokyo ward of Shibuya, and these opening shots are specifically from Shibuya Hikarie, the very same building where the 20th anniversary celebration took place, the same building that the Master of Masters was seen standing on at the end of the Kingdom Hearts 3 secret ending. A being of darkness begins to form in this world, and we will come to why that is important momentarily. We are treated to some extremely quick shots of a shady forest, including a gentle waterfall rolling down a peaceful stream. Eagle-eyed viewers might notice this, a large, robotic, and circular object that we will come back to later, just in case I'm wrong. We then see a single shot of the chessboard from Kingdom Hearts 3. In Kingdom Hearts 3, the board representing the battle between the 7 lights and the 13 darknesses was set accordingly, and at the end of the game, Sora's light piece stood triumphantly atop Master Xehanort's fallen dark piece, signifying that light had won the day. However, the young Ericus then cleared the board in preparation for a new game, setting out 7 black pieces and placing Sora's single light crown on the board. Perhaps we are now seeing the beginnings of this new game through the trailer of Kingdom Hearts 4, but in any case the implication is clear. Sora now stands alone on an entirely new game board, in an entirely separated world. As for where Sora is, well, here is our boy now, waking up on a couch with a beautiful new realistic art style and outfit to the sound of his doorbell ringing. We see him wake up in first-person view and answers the door to find a girl named Strelitzia, echoing some of the very first shots of Kingdom Hearts 1. Strelitzia is not a new character as the North American press site might have you believe, but a Keyblade wielder from our side of reality in the most distant past. She was murdered by a being of darkness, yet seemed to linger in this world as a faint apparition, appearing to her brother Lauriam multiple times. I have a pretty strong idea about why she has appeared in this world, but let's leave the theory crafting until the end. Strelitzia explains that Sora has been asleep in this world since he arrived, which was 7 days ago, and that this world is Quadratum. The pair step out onto a balcony and overlook this world, revealing that Sora is in an apartment. Does he or Strelitzia own it? We simply don't know just yet, but we have heard the name Quadratum before. In Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, Riku, Kairi, and the researchers at Radiant Garden learned of the existence of a world on the other side of their reality. Ansem the Wise dubbed it as Unreality, or a world of fiction, naming it as such because he believed himself to be from reality, which, from his point of view, he is. The fairy godmother guided Riku and Kairi to a being from the other side of reality, a girl who only existed now as a heart in the final world, someone who Sora had actually met previously during his travels to the final world. This girl lamented that she had everything taken away from her, her body, her name, everything except her heart, and even then, only because it pined for someone else, Uzura. Unfortunately, he too had been changed beyond recognition, his heart replaced with another's. If Uzura learns of what happened to the unnamed star, he will surely make an attempt to rescue her, leading us to infer that perhaps the unnamed star is this woman here, seen initially in the Verum Rex trailer and dubbed with the shorthand Stella by a lot of the fanbase currently. In any case, during Melody of Memory, Riku had described a mysterious city with a lot of tall buildings that he kept visiting during his dreams to the unnamed star, which she recognized as potentially being Quadratum, and she allowed Riku to use her to open up a portal and travel there. The last we saw of Riku, he was headed to Quadratum as well, but don't forget that this happened 1 year after Kingdom Hearts 3. If Sora has only been in Quadratum for 1 week, then that still leaves plenty of time before Riku will arrive, if he even arrives at all. The 7 days that Sora spent asleep is an interesting detail. Fans of The World Ends With You will know that in that game, people that die can be given the opportunity to play in the Reaper's Game, a 7-day contest to fight for their right to regain life. The World Ends With You and its sequel both take place in a fictional version of Shibuya, much like where Sora is now. This could merely be a gentle reference, if it means anything at all, but it's worth remembering that Neku did promise to meet up with Sora in Shibuya when they last spoke in Dream Drop Distance, so this is something to keep in the back of your head. For all intents and purposes, Quadratum seems to be the name of a world on the other side of reality, a world that looks identical to the real-world wards of at least Shibuya and Shinjuku, given that Riku was last seen walking around in the Shinjuku ward during his dreams. The Master of Masters had taken great interest in this place on the other side of reality to his own, as it was a world where neither light nor darkness ruled, somewhere he couldn't even conceive, and described it using a word that was actually censored as he said it, much like his own name. This is noteworthy because on our side of reality, no matter how far the realm of light stretched and how many worlds existed, darkness always found its way to each and every one of them. Darkness's entire reason for being was expansion, and it sought to infect each and every world. The fact that it has now appeared in this otherwise free world is troubling, as darkness has infested a completely neutral place. As for why that is, well, we aren't completely sure just yet, but I will of course give you some theories at the end. Strelitzia describes Quadratum as a world filled with life, but ironically for Sora and herself, it's similar to an afterworld, somewhere people might go after death, or something close to it. At the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, Sora abused the power of waking multiple times to create an alternate timeline in which his friends were not slain, and as such, was banished from this world for his recklessness. At this point, we aren't sure of the timeline exactly, but we know that at some point after Kingdom Hearts 3, he battled Uzura in a place that Uzura could reach while dreaming. Sora could either win or lose that battle, so there was a chance that this act of Sora waking up now in Quadratum could either come after the losing ending, or it could come straight after his disappearance at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. We don't really have enough information just yet to concretely lock down when this is happening. On that note, potentially both endings of the Uzura fight could be canon, but let's not go down that rabbit hole just yet. As Strelitzia speaks, we see a giant being of darkness materialize, one that looks remarkably like this reality's version of a dark side, again echoing the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1. The people of this world are initially unsure of what they are seeing. Some are even recording it on their mobile phones, indicating to me that this is the first time this is happening to them. They are not used to coming under attack from giant monsters. This is a new phenomenon. Darkness has only recently infected this world. As the citizens flee in one direction, our hero runs in from the other, charging into battle as he summons his faithful Kingdom Key in a wonderfully choreographed sequence. I'll let Bio-Roxas do the combat breakdowns, but clearly Sora still has access to his parkour-inspired flow motion abilities in this world, gracefully scaling the motorway with his athleticism, as well as by creating another chain from the end of the Kingdom Key, and using that as an anchor to hook onto the light poles and cars as he scales his way up to the looming foe. He is seen scaling up the sides of a building and then sliding back down through a walkway, which gives me serious Final Fantasy Vs 13 vibes, traversing through a dynamic level and appearing to create a drill from the tip of the Kingdom Key in order to battle against the dark side. I don't know if this is transforming the Keyblade in the way that Master Xehanort or the Lingering Will, or even Sora himself did while in his various different forms during Kingdom Hearts 3. From what I can see, the Kingdom Key at least seems to be completely intact during the entire sequence, and the drill and the grappling chain are built on top of it. The build command in the 4th slot of Sora's command menu seem to support this. As Sora continues his battle with his enemy, the camera pans up onto the roof of the Shibuya Sky observation deck, where a man steps out onto a ledge, just as he had in Kingdom Hearts 3's secret ending. This man should be the Master of Masters, standing as he has many times with his hands folded behind his back. To our left, we see another hooded figure, and based merely on his appearance in a black coat, I would have to guess that this is Lushu, though we absolutely cannot take this as a fact just yet. Lushu diligently completed his role, playing Master Xehanort's fool, seeing through another Keyblade war, keeping the black box safe, summoning back the Foretellers, and being a crucial ingredient in the Master of Masters' return to this world. Near the beginning of Kingdom Hearts Key and back cover, the Master of Masters was said to have vanished, but the reality was that he time-traveled to a point in the future. He had the Book of Prophecies as his waypoint, meaning he could perfectly target when he wanted to arrive in the future. He was able to grow a new body from his own eye that was preserved in his Keyblade as the medium, and Lushu held memories of him, therefore his body would be populated by those memories, and he would not be an amnesiac when he arrived in this chosen time. The Master of Masters had everything he needed to time travel into the future, thanks to Lushu, and now here he appears to be at his chosen time, which implies to me that Lushu is the person standing beside him. We, of course, can't be sure just yet, so let's move on to the logo that closes out the first part of the trailer. The beautiful Kingdom Hearts 4 that cuts through the darkness with its brand new font as our second signifier that this game is taking place in a brand new phase of the series, an interesting contrast to Kingdom Hearts Missing Link that was revealed at the same time and retains the classic Kingdom Hearts logo. The trailer ends with Donald and Goofy walking through a dark and spooky place, searching for someone that can aid them in their quest. They seem to have found this person. As though we don't see him, the voice and sudden turn of the blue flame into a red flame is undeniably that of Hades, Lord of the Underworld, meaning that the pair are currently walking through Olympus. This makes complete sense given what Strelitzia said. If Sora is in the afterlife, then who better to ask for advice than the Lord of the Dead? Donald and Goofy look very similar to their last incarnations, further cementing the idea that Sora's appearance is so radically different this time around because he is in Quadratum, and as such, is sporting a much more realistic appearance now. His different appearance in the Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Episode DLC gave us a clue that this might be happening, but the look has evolved even further now. There are a couple of things still to talk about. Let's start with a line of dialogue spoken during the trailer. If this isn't the ending you desired, if it brings you despair, then leave this world for another. Your options are endless. However, if you do leave this world behind, don't expect to return to the one from which you came. So that seems to be our initial clue at the plot of this game, from Sora's side at least. The voice speaking is in Japanese, so the speaker's identity is already difficult to ascertain, but I haven't seen anyone on social media confirming who it actually is. In any case, they seem to be speaking to Sora, prompting him to go on his journey and explore through the endless possibilities that this side of reality offers. Sora will surely be seeking a way back home, back to our side of reality, assuming he remembers where he came from. But it won't be as easy as simply leaving Quadratum. This is a Kingdom Hearts game after all, and as such, we can safely assume that Sora will be trekking through multiple worlds over the course of the story. In fact, we may have already seen one such world, the forest that we briefly mentioned earlier. If you'll notice the robotic foot cup that we touched on previously, there is some evidence to suggest that this is the foot of an AT-ST walker, implying that this world is perhaps Endor, or even Yavin 4 from the Star Wars series. Star Wars' inclusion in the Kingdom Hearts series is something that has been long prophesized, both expectantly and fearfully from Kingdom Hearts fans, and with the franchise's acquisition into the Great Mouse's pocket, it did seem like a distinct possibility that has now come to fruition. Of course, nothing is confirmed yet, so take this all with a huge helping of sea salt ice cream, but as a series that is so heavily focused on the balance of light and darkness, this actually does make a lot of sense. Sora uses the power of light to smack around the beings of darkness, which is normal in the world that he came from, just as Jedi wield the light side of the Force to oppose Sith that channel the dark side. In both series, light and darkness could be described as two sides of the same coin, and Nomura has clearly taken inspiration from Star Wars in the past, so this inclusion could be a surprisingly good fit for the Kingdom Hearts series. If this does end up being true, then that opens the door for some of the other worlds that Sora might explore, and perhaps we could start looking at the rest of Disney's large acquisitions. Square Enix themselves have already published Marvel's Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy games. I don't think it's a stretch at all to think that if Star Wars could get in, that they might be next. Let's leave that rabbit hole of speculation aside and come back to Strelitzia. Some people are confused as to how she could possibly be in Quadratum, and I have some potential answers. First of all, as stated, Strelitzia was killed in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, hundreds if not thousands of years ago. So her path to the afterworld could be that simple. She is dead, so she ends up in a world that she considers an afterlife. But I feel like that wouldn't explain the time skip, or why she alone is one of the only people to end up in this world. Recalling Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, that in the final days before the Data Daybreak Town was destroyed, Lushu was seen retrieving Strelitzia's data. He was then seen shortly after in the real world, taking a white coat and sending it into the future, describing it as the true dandelion and a seed of light. We have also seen a cryptic warning in Melody of Memory, warning the occupant of one of these pods that if they arrive in a world that's neither light nor darkness, that the task will be far from easy, which says to me that it is possible, though unlikely, to be sent to Quadratum while using one. I always thought Strelitzia was the seed of light, and now I certainly think it's possible that Lushu sent her into the future, using himself as a waypoint, using her data backup and the white code as a medium, and using his memories of her as the memories. That would explain why she has rematerialized in Quadratum at around the same time Luxu has been seen there, as well as explain what Luxu meant about her being a seed of light. There should be no light in Quadratum, just as there should be no darkness. However, as we have unquestionably seen, there is now darkness here, so perhaps some light is just what this world needs. Perhaps her presence was even necessary for Sora to anchor onto and arrive here, but at this point we are certainly getting into basic speculation territory. As for why the darkness has now appeared here, well, one possible theory is that there is some darkness contained within the Master of Masters, within Luxu, and within the black box itself, so perhaps some has seeped out and infected this world, perhaps even intentionally. But for now, I'll leave you here and begin working on explaining everything that's happening in Missing Link. I am so excited to see everywhere the Kingdom Hearts series is headed, and I cannot wait to experience it with you all. All the best for now, friends. Bye bye.